Ever notice how we live in a world where everyone's supposedly optimizing their happiness, yet most people seem more miserable than a soggy French fry? Yeah, that's not a coincidence. While you're busy collecting self-help books like Pokemon cards and downloading meditation apps you'll never use, you're probably doing 5 things every single day that are systematically destroying your joy. And the best part, you don't even realize it. Let me guess. You woke up this morning, grabbed your phone before your feet hit the floor, and immediately started absorbing everyone else's highlight reel while mentally cataloging all the ways your life doesn't measure up. Classic move. Then you probably spent the day saying yes to things you hate, avoiding conversations that matter, and convincing yourself that being busy means being important. Sound familiar? Here's the thing about happiness sabotage. It's not dramatic. It doesn't show up wearing a black cape twirling a mustache. No, it's sneaky. It disguises itself as normal adult behavior, responsible choices, and social expectations. It's the psychological equivalent of termites eating your house from the inside while you're busy redecorating the living room. So before you spend another $1 on a happiness journal with inspirational quotes that make you want to throw up a little, let's talk about the 5 unexpected habits that are secretly turning your joy into psychological sawdust. The first happiness assassin is what I like to call habitual people-pleasing. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this is another lecture about boundaries, hear me out. This isn't about saying no to your boss or your mother-in-law, though that might help too. This is about something much more insidious. You know that friend who always picks the restaurant even though they claim they don't care where you go? That's you. You're so busy trying to make everyone else comfortable that you've forgotten what you actually want. And I'm not talking about the big stuff like career choices or life partners. I'm talking about the micro decisions that happen hundreds of times a day. Picture this. You're standing at a coffee shop and the barista asks if you want oat milk or regular milk. You pause for a microsecond, glance at the person behind you who's clearly in a hurry, and say regular milk even though you prefer oat milk because it takes 2 seconds longer to prepare. Congratulations, you just chose someone else's convenience over your own preference for literally no reason. This sounds ridiculous because it is ridiculous. But multiply this by every small decision you make while prioritizing other people's comfort over your own, and you've essentially outsourced your entire existence to strangers and acquaintances who probably aren't even paying attention. The psychological impact is like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Each tiny choice to ignore what you want sends a message to your brain that your preferences don't matter. Your subconscious starts treating you like an unpaid intern in your own life, and trust me, unpaid interns are not known for their job satisfaction. The second joy killer is comparison addiction, but not the obvious kind. Everyone knows Instagram makes people feel bad about their lives. That's like saying water is wet. I'm talking about the subtle, everyday comparison that happens when you're just trying to live your life. You walk into a grocery store and automatically scan other people's carts to see if you're buying too much junk food. You sit in traffic and wonder if the person in the BMW next to you is happier than you because they have a nicer car. You go to a restaurant and feel slightly inadequate because the couple at the next table ordered wine and you ordered a Diet Coke. It's like having a background app running on your phone that's constantly draining your battery, except the app is called How Am I Doing compared to random strangers, and it never stops collecting data. You're walking through life conducting an endless, involuntary market research study on your own worth. Here's what's particularly cruel about this habit. You're not even comparing yourself to people you know or care about. You're measuring your internal experience against other people's external presentations, which is like judging your rough draft against someone else's published novel. Of course, you're going to lose that game every single time. The third unexpected happiness sabotage is avoiding difficult conversations, especially with people you care about. Now, I know what you're thinking. Difficult conversations are stressful, and stress is the opposite of happiness, so avoiding them makes sense. Wrong. Avoiding difficult conversations is like ignoring a leaky pipe because you don't want to deal with a plumber. Eventually, you're going to have a flood. Let's say your friend keeps making plans and then canceling at the last minute. Instead of addressing it, you just stop making plans with them and feel resentful every time they text you. Or your partner does that thing where they load the dishwasher completely wrong, and instead of showing them the correct way, you just secretly reload it after they go to bed while mentally composing a dissertation about their character flaws. Before we continue, let me just say that if you're enjoying this psychological roast session of modern life, maybe consider subscribing. Because honestly, we're just getting started, and I have a feeling you're going to want to stick around for the rest of this happiness demolition project. This avoidance strategy feels like you're maintaining peace, but what you're actually doing is creating an elaborate emotional Jenga tower that's going to collapse eventually. Every unaddressed issue becomes a small resentment, and resentments are like emotional compound interest. They grow bigger over time without any effort on your part. The funny thing is that most difficult conversations aren't actually that difficult once you have them. They're just uncomfortable for about 10 minutes, and then you get to have a functional relationship with someone instead of a relationship based on silent mutual frustration and passive-aggressive dish loading. The fourth happiness saboteur is treating productivity like a competitive sport. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've turned your entire existence into an optimization project, complete with apps that track how many steps you take, how much water you drink, and probably how many times you blink per minute. You wake up and immediately check how well you slept according to your phone, as if your phone has better access to your subjective experience than you do. You plan your day with the efficiency of a logistics coordinator managing supply chains, scheduling everything from meals to bathroom breaks to maximize output. Here's the plot twist. All this optimization is making you miserable because you're treating yourself like a machine that needs to be upgraded, rather than a human being who needs to be enjoyed. You've turned relaxation into a scheduled productivity task, which is like trying to force yourself to have fun at gunpoint. I've seen people stress about whether they're meditating efficiently enough. Think about that for a second. They're worried about their meditation performance metrics. They've managed to turn the ancient practice of letting go into another thing to achieve and measure and improve upon. The psychological damage here is that you start viewing every moment of your life through the lens of whether it's productive or wasteful. You can't just sit in a park and watch clouds without wondering if you should be using that time to answer emails or do squats or practice a language on Duolingo. You've essentially turned yourself into your own micromanaging boss, and nobody likes a micromanaging boss. The fifth and perhaps most insidious happiness killer is emotional outsourcing. This is when you unconsciously delegate your emotional regulation to other people, and it's everywhere once you notice it. You wake up feeling neutral, then check your phone, and suddenly you're anxious because someone posted something political. Your mood depends on whether your text messages get replied to quickly. You feel good about yourself when your boss compliments your work, and terrible about yourself when they don't. You're like an emotional weather vane, constantly spinning based on external conditions that you have zero control over. Here's a particularly common example. You post something on social media, and then spend the next few hours periodically checking to see how many likes it got. Each time you check, you feel either slightly validated or slightly disappointed, depending on the numbers. You've essentially turned strangers' split-second scrolling decisions into a referendum on your worth as a human being. This is psychological madness. You're handing out the remote control to your emotional state to random people who don't even know they have it. It's like being in a relationship with everyone and no one simultaneously. The really twisted part is that we've been conditioned to think this is normal. We call it being social or caring about others or being responsive. But what it actually is giving away your emotional sovereignty to anyone with an opinion and a smartphone. Now, if you're sitting there realizing you do some or all of these things, don't panic. This isn't about becoming a selfish hermit who never considers other people's feelings and lives in a cave making pottery. Just remember, this video is for information and entertainment purposes, and if you're dealing with serious mental health stuff, you should probably talk to someone who has actual credentials instead of just strong opinions and a YouTube channel. The solution isn't to swing to the opposite extreme. It's about reclaiming your emotional real estate and remembering that happiness isn't something you achieve or optimize or earn through good behavior. It's something you allow yourself to experience by not doing things that systematically prevent it. Most people are walking around in a happiness prevention program of their own design, wondering why they feel empty despite doing all the right things. They've turned joy into a performance metric instead of a natural byproduct of living authentically. The irony is that the less you chase happiness directly, the more likely you are to actually experience it. It's like trying to fall asleep. The harder you try, the more awake you become. Happiness happens in the spaces between your attempts to manufacture it. So maybe stop checking if you're happy enough, stop optimizing your joy levels, and stop treating contentment like a project that needs to be managed. Your happiness doesn't need a business plan. It just needs you to stop accidentally sabotaging it with habits that seem reasonable but are actually psychological quicksand. Because here's what nobody tells you about happiness. It's not a destination you arrive at after collecting enough achievements and experiences. It's not a problem to be solved or a goal to be reached. It's more like breathing. The more you focus on controlling it, the more unnatural it becomes. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do for your happiness is to just stop trying so hard to be happy and start paying attention to what actually makes you feel alive instead of what you think should make you feel.